It's not an everyday occurrence that the Parsha of the week correlates with the Jewish calendar. But it happens to be this week in Parshas Emor, the Torah deals with the calendar time of the year that we find ourselves in. And that is the mitzvah of Sfiras Omer, of counting down, of counting the Omer from the time that we brought the Korban Omer on the second day of Pesach till the upcoming holiday of Shavuos, where the Jews received the Torah at Mount Sinai. So I use the word counting down. If you look at the way we count, we don't really count down. Let's think about it. The way we count is, today, let's starting the second day of Pesach. Today is the first day in the Omer, the second day, third day. Until we get today, right, the day right before Shavuos is the 49th day. Now normally when you count down toward an exciting event, you'd say, okay, if you remember we got married only a few years ago. So, there's 10 days left to the wedding, 9 days, 7 days. Well, if the idea of counting of Sfiras Omer, which the commentators say, is the idea is we should look forward and mark that we are coming towards such an important and monumental event in world history, that the Jews received the Torah at Har Sinai. So we should count down. Oh, there's only 10 days left to the receiving of the Torah, 9 days left, 7 days left, 6 days left. Why exactly do we count the way we do? We don't count down, we count up. Interesting question. So this question is dealt with by the commentators. Why we count this way? The Sefer HaChinuch was one of the major commentators on the mitzvos. So he claims that the reason is if we would start at the beginning, after the second day of Pesach, we would start counting, there's 49 days left till the receiving of the Torah. That's a long time. I'm not really getting excited, about receiving the Torah. It just takes too long. There's too much time left. Or even 45 days. When there's a lot of time, you don't get excited. And the whole idea of the mitzvah is to be excited and to look forward to the receiving of the Torah. So because at the beginning there's just too much time, we decided to change it. And we said, there's one day that has already passed and we're one step closer. He mentions that we could have changed it in the middle when, day 25, when it now changes and there's less days left. But we wanted to keep it one consistent way of counting. And therefore, since at the beginning it wouldn't create that excitement, we started by saying today's one day in the Omer. But I want to maybe let's mention another approach that I've heard in the past to explain why we count the way we do. And that's as follows. The Jews underwent a major transformation in the time from after when we left Egypt till we received the Torah at Mount Sinai. A major transformation. When we left Egypt, we were on the 49th level of Torah. A very, very low spiritual level. Very low. In this period, in these 49 days, the Jews climbed out of that level and reached an unbelievably high level by Mount Sinai. Unbelievable. The rabbis tell us that they reached a level of that Adam Harishon, that Adam, the first man, was on prior to the sin of eating from the tree of the Eitz Hadas, from the tree of knowledge. Now, just to give you an understanding of how high that is, Adam Harishon, before he ate from the tree of knowledge, from the Eitz Hadas, the rabbis tell us that there would have been no death. Had he not made that sin, men would have lived forever. There would have been no necessity for death as a purification process. Now that's unbelievable. That means we reached through the Jewish preparation of going out in these weeks, going out from Mitzrayim, and the lowest of low levels, to the highest level of Adam Harishon, that we've been such a high level. The transformation is amazing. What a major transformation. So it could be to mark that when we count today's one day in the Omer, what we're saying is that we've now acquired another day of tremendous another spiritual level that's been attained. we're marking our spiritual growth that was accomplished, that can be accomplished by every single day. That's what we're doing. We want to mark and mention to ourselves, remind ourselves that every single day of this time period, we can achieve another level of spiritual purification. Now, what makes this even more unbelievable is that this level, this transformation that the Jews had, was actually prior to the giving of the Torah. Prior. This is even without them actually receiving the Torah. The Jews underwent this transformation. That's even more amazing. That means, to me, what that says is that the human being is built with an ability to transform himself into an utmost of a spiritual person. Now that's a very powerful concept if you think about it. That we're built with a spiritual DNA inside ourselves to transform ourselves into spiritual people. It's extremely important. Most people don't know that. That we have that inside ourselves, the DNA, that we can make ourselves such spiritual people. Coming from the lowest of low to the highest of high. The question is, how do you do that? How are you able to accomplish that? I think there's one word, and that's called motivation. Motivation. The Jews were motivated by what they saw at the Exodus of Egypt. They saw the hand of God. They saw the hand of Hashem and how great Hashem was. Both, in the death of the firstborn of the Egyptians and by the splitting of the Red Sea, by Kriyas Yamsuf. They saw Hashem's greatness and said, wow, it's very worthwhile to live a spiritual life. We want to have a connection with God. And we're going to put in the effort to attain that kind of level. And they did. And they did. So I think motivation is the key. And I want to just share with you, just for two more minutes, a story about motivation and what motivation can do. And there was a great rabbi who lived in Jerusalem about 70 years ago. And it was actually Erev Pesach. And his name was Rabbi Zadenfeld. And it was a funeral of one of a holy Jew from Jerusalem. And they were going to bury him. And at that time, security wasn't as it is today. And they were told by a group, the Arabs are getting ready to attack us. We better rush to the cemetery to bury this person before the Arabs get there. So once somebody tells Rabbi Zadenfeld, who was already an older man in his late 70s, please, you stay here, and we're going to go, and we're going to accompany the deceased to his final resting place. And Rabbi Zadenfeld responds and says, wait a minute, why am I exempt from giving honor to a Torah scholar? And he starts to run, like a sprinter. And he gets there before everybody else. And he's there. Upper 70s. How do you do it? How do you do it? He said, you normally don't run like that. He was motivated. He said, I have to do this. Oh, I got to get there quicker. I'm just going to put my full power and do whatever I can. So motivation is very powerful. So the more motivated we are, and we realize the transformative effect that a person can have on themselves in these days, what the Jews accomplished, and we add some, a touch of motivation, the sky's the limit. I mean,